This is a very, very interesting idea, and it's one that I honestly had not considered up until I saw some folks talking about it on Twitter, and this seems to be how a lot of conversation comes about to us these days. The internet, social media, seeing what some folks have to say, because today we're talking about the Vancouver Canucks and one of their prospects that was taken in the 2026 NHL Entry Draft, Adam Novotny. Now, we have had our fair share of conversations about Novotny over the past few weeks, ever since the NHL Draft concluded. We made the actual draft reaction video itself, we spoke about the top 10 Vancouver Canucks prospects, and then asked whether or not the Canucks had a good draft. But thinking about Adam Novotny in isolation, there are a number of interesting ideas to describe when it comes to him and his game heading into next season. Novotny is 18 years old, born in November of 2007, which means he will be 19 by the time 2027 begins. 6'1", 205, a left-handed winger, and a guy that came over to the Peterborough Petes and scored over a point per game as an OHL rookie. There were some that had Novotny ranked in the teens of this NHL draft. And by the way, look at this. This is the first time I am seeing it. Man, elite prospects. Look at how many draft reports and scouting mock drafts they have listed for these top drafted prospects from 2026. Novotny was ranked 14th by EP, 19th by Cam Robinson, 26th by Button, 17 by Peters, yada yada yada. There were a number of folks that had him in the teens, but he ended up going 24th to Vancouver. I'd say that's a pretty good value pickup for one of the more underrated players in the draft. Take a look at this tweet that was posted by Free Petey on Twitter. Canucks Nation, don't sleep on Adam Novotny at 6'1" and 205 pounds, making the Vancouver Canucks out of training camp. The guy isn't committed to the NCAA, and he has NHL tools in the kit. Now, when I saw that tweet, I was like, okay, come on. Like, we just saw Braden Coots break the old record that has stood the test of time for multiple decades, that we did not see an 18-year-old suit up on the Vancouver Canucks opening night roster. It was Peter Nedved, the last guy to do that, back in the gosh darn 1990s. So, obviously, there was a pretty big amount of history there, and Braden Coots becoming the first 18-year-old since 1990 to make the Vancouver Canucks opening night roster. That was a pretty big deal. There's no way we're going to see another one, right? Caleb Malhotra was Vancouver's top pick in the 3rd overall spot, and unfortunately, he's not going to be able to do the old Braden Coots because Caleb Malhotra is going to be playing in the NCAA. I don't know if y'all had heard. It's not like we've been talking about this over the past few months over and over again, which leaves Adam Novotny as Vancouver's top guy who is actually eligible to play on the opening night roster. Free Petey is saying, hey, don't sleep on it. There's a chance that he has it done. Carl the Grinder says, hey, why would the Canucks do that and burn a year of his ELC during a rebuild tank year? Do some people just talk puck without common sense? Misa, Kindle, and Schaefer all played as 18, 19-year-olds. The league is changing. Well, we should also acknowledge that Schaefer was a 1st overall pick, Misa was a 2nd overall pick, and Ben Kindle was also in that Braden Coots territory of the draft. Here's a reply that I thought was interesting. Lemon Les Paul goes out there and says, Novotny can play in Abbotsford if he is ready to jump to pro. I'm not sure. I think you're only allowed one 19-year-old down there. So if Braden Coots sticks, then yeah. But then Nick goes out there and says, no, I believe the rule is 1st-round picks only. There is an unlimited number as long as they are 19 years old by the new year. They talked about an unlimited number, but as of right now, only one 19-year-old is allowed. Okay, so there's a little bit of a debate going on here. Let's head over to this article posted on sportsnet.ca from March 21st, 2026. This was talking about the NHL, CHL, and AHL nearing their agreement for 19-year-old players. The The change could come into effect as soon as next season, and there will be no limit on the amount of 19-year-olds each team can designate to the AHL. People don't think there's going to be a ton of them, but teams don't want to limit it. If they had more than one, they wanted to be able to send more than one. The NHLPA still has to approve, but that is what they are working on. Now, of course, this article was posted and it doesn't say that the rule is in place. It was just saying, hey, it's coming. We might be on it soon. So, whether or not Adam Novotny is actually available to play for the Abbotsford Canucks this upcoming season, I guess we'll have to wait for a little bit more clarity on the matter, whether or not this multiple first-round pick rule stands the test of time, and also what is the actual cutoff for 18 to 19-year-old players, because Novotny is going to be 19 by November 13th. If December 31st or January 1st is the cutoff date, then yeah, Novotny does turn 19 before then. Would it not make sense for him to potentially take that step if he is ready? Now, I say that because when you think about some of the other names, Braden Coots seems to be a shoo-in for the Abbotsford Canucks heading into this upcoming season. Not that he wasn't ready to play in the Vancouver Canucks system. I mean, we saw last year he worked his way onto the team via several impressive showcases at the Canucks prospect games as well as the Vancouver Canucks preseason games. Braden Coots deserved to play on the opening night roster. He was really good. Unfortunately, after 3 games with the club, we started to see that the preseason ain't the same as the regular season, and also the Canucks were really bad, so Braden Coots then got sent down to Prince Albert, or he got sent down to Seattle and then got traded to Prince Albert later on, also spent a stint with the Canadian World Junior squad, so it was a pretty diverse year for Braden Coots. This upcoming season, though, he is most likely one of the names that Vancouver will peg into their Abbotsford Canucks lineup. There is an option for him to go there. He will benefit greatly from playing AHL hockey this early into his career, but the question is Adam Novotny also going to be a part of that group? We already saw some of the commentary from the coaching staff of the Peterborough Petes. They love Novotny. They think he's got a really good game. There is a lot more that he can improve on heading into next season, just playing on that smaller ice, getting more used to the North American game, and maybe stringing together some more playoff production as well, because he only had 1 point in 6 games with the Peterborough Petes in the postseason this year. I don't want to say that Novotny is one of these guys that needs to play in the AHL, but if he decides to take that path, it would be one of the more unique experiments for these prospects that are taken out of the NHL draft, right? Like, this AHL rule for 19-year-olds is so new that we haven't really seen anybody take advantage of it up until now, especially guys who played their draft-eligible years out of the CHL. If I recall correctly, there were some guys that actually were able to bypass that rule and start out their pro careers in the American Hockey League after being drafted out of the Ontario Hockey League. I think Alexander Nylander was able to do that, was he not? 2016 draft eligible, Mississauga. Yeah, and then he played his draft +1 with Rochester. If I recall correctly, it was because maybe he was loaned to Mississauga for his draft eligible campaign, something like that. I don't remember the details, but these European dudes, they do have that opportunity to play in the American Hockey League earlier than these North American dudes. Either way, is Adam Novotny going to be able to do that this upcoming season? Do you think it's better for his development if he goes back to the OHL, or should the Canucks try to force him onto the American Hockey League roster if the cutoff date for 18 turning 19-year-olds is January 1st? If he's allowed, then hey, it might be worth exploring, but if he's not, Braden Coots is still going to be there, right? Unless Braden Coots makes the team, which in that case, maybe Novotny does get a push a little bit early into the Abbotsford Canucks system if that's the case. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this Vidashashroll 99, and bye.